This round of Mercury retrograde. If you don't know me, my name is Tara All. I am resident astrologer here at Sage Goddess, and I am just checking in to see how you are doing today at 1:35 a.m. Pacific time today, April 21st. Mercury turned retrograde. I don't know about you guys, but I am definitely feeling it. And not only am I feeling it, but this morning, in true Mercury retrograde fashion, I was on the phone dealing with mixed up healthcare appointments and needing to get retested for results that didn't anyhow. I'm just telling you, it just right out the gate. Yeah. So, and also, I shared this with you guys earlier this week when I was chatting, but I woke up again this morning with that sort of anxious feeling, and I'm wondering if any of you are feeling that as well. I think it's kind of a collective energy thing. Yeah, hello everybody. So glad you're here with me. Happy Friday if it's Friday in your time zone and your place in the world. Yeah, so I'm going to chat a little bit about Mercury retrograde, and here's the thing. So this round of Mercury retrograde, again, starts today, goes until May 14th. But we have about 2 weeks before and after the technical retrograde when we're in the shadow period. So anyhow, we have this, it goes a little longer than just, for example, April 21st to May 14th. So I'm really thinking that for the last 2 weeks, I realized how much we've already been in it, and here we are. So I think one of you just mentioned that you had PTO and were able to take some time off. I think if to the extent that we can, especially because we had that eclipse this week too, to the extent that you can take a little bit of time for yourself is good. Yeah, and if you're feeling oddly at peace, maybe it's not odd. Maybe that's just, you feeling into the energy, because this Mercury retrograde is in Taurus, right? And Taurus is about peace and grounding, getting centered, really knowing what we value, kind of coming back to that sort of animal or body intelligence. And we talk about that being with Taurus. So I think our experience with this energy really has a lot to do with where we are with that Taurus in ourselves, right? Some of us, if you're like me and you tend to run a little higher, faster frequency, this can kind of interfere with your flow a little bit. But I always say that that's healthy, because Mercury retrograde in so many ways is about slowing down, checking in. It's all the re's, right? The rethink, the redo, the reclaim, the repair, the reconsider, reformulate, redefine, right? So pretty much, a lot of any of the things that start with RE, see how you can apply that to your life right now. And, we talk about someone saying even the screen is wonky. Well, yeah, I don't know what to say, man. Mercury retrograde, I feel like one of the things is that when things go wonky, often that's, I think, actually helping us see into kind of through a different lens or shift the perspective. And so maybe that wonky is actually more real than what we normally see. I don't know. But yeah, Mercury retrograde, that stuff can happen, right? The computer stops working. You call the wrong person on the phone. Things just don't connect. Even in conversation, sometimes it's oh my gosh, I'm trying to say something and someone's not hearing me, or I can't get it out. So yeah. So I brought a couple things with me. One, I have my cards, so I figured it would be fun after we talk a little bit, that at least for a couple people, I'll pull a card for you, and I'll pull a card for all of us, kind of how to best be with this energy and to best really use it to our advantage, because Mercury retrograde in so many ways helps us rewire, right? And if we're willing to let kind of the things fray or fall apart or go wonky or haywire, that gives us a chance to either reconnect or put things together in a way that actually work better going forward. So that's why I say if something breaks, really check in. Do you need it? Was it really working? Is there a better way to run that energy? Let me just mention here briefly about retrograde planets. Right? Retrograde planets are not moving backward. Not really. It's just, oh, yeah, I can so I think someone's mentioned queer cosmos. So yeah, so my friend Colin Medell, he definitely was on there talking about it, and he was saying that he FaceTimed the wrong person this morning. So, that's a fun example of Mercury retrograde right out the gate, right? But anyway, back to retrograde. So it just, from our point on Earth, which we call our geocentric view, it looks like the planet's moving backward, but it's not really, right? That's just how it looks from our vantage point. The example that I always bring up around retrograde planets, it's like if you're running a race or you're driving on the freeway and you pass another car or you run past another person. It looks like they're moving backwards, falling behind, but they're not. You're both just moving at your pace. It just has to do with the speed of both planets. And so, as the planets are moving around in our solar system, sometimes we have that illusion. But here's the thing. Our geocentric viewpoint has everything to do with what we're experiencing. So for us right now, it looks and feels like Mercury is doing what we sometimes call the moonwalk. Right? And one other thing, just for those of you who like to talk astrology, Mercury is not in retrograde. Planets are not in retrograde. They're not like cars that shift into gears. So when we talk about it, we really just say Mercury retrograde. Mercury turns retrograde. So anyway, just a little tip if you want to sound, extra astro smart at whatever thing you're doing. There's no in, because really, again, there's not a gear. It's just things moving along, and it's just a viewpoint. But that illusion that something's moving backwards is an invitation for us to slow down and kind of take a step back ourselves before we move forward. And this is why, in part, that people talk about and every planet retrograde is different. So we're talking about Mercury retrograde today. The planets represent different things. So when Jupiter's retrograde, it's a different conversation. But the reclaiming, redoing, redefining, that part doesn't change. But what we're redefining and what we're reclaiming, what we're reworking with or reconnecting with becomes different based on that planet. But with Mercury, right, we sometimes talk about not signing contracts, right, or not getting into big important conversations or things that involve the mind, communication, exchanges of information. And that's just because sometimes things can get a little haywire, right? Or sometimes we don't have all the information. Or sometimes after Mercury turns direct, then we'll have to redo the things that we initiated or kind of hit the go button on. But it's a great time to redo or re-dive into things that have been sitting. So for example, if you were already working on writing something, Mercury retrograde is a great time to get back in and finish it up, right? Or to do those final tweaks and adjustments. And like I always say, so your life just doesn't stop during Mercury retrograde, right? Sometimes we have to sign a contract or we have to initiate something. We have to have a tough conversation. So I'm not saying don't do those things. I'm saying if you have a choice of when you do them, it might be easier. They might go more easily if you wait till the retrograde period's over, right? But you always got to trust your intuition. So that's a little bit about the retrograde piece. And then we want to look at the sign that Mercury's in. So we've already talked about this a little bit, but Taurus, right? What does Taurus want as a sign? Self-sufficiency, stability, security, financial, material security, but also just feeling safe and comfortable in the environment, right? Taurus wants things to be comfortable, beautiful. It cares about aesthetics, and Taurus isn't about kind of moving fast or jumping all around. It's not about putting effort into things that aren't really worth it. So, one thing for all of us right now is to really check in and say, what do I actually value? What actually is meaningful to me? What brings me security? What gets me to my own state of equilibrium? Because to the extent right now that you are not in your own natural state of equilibrium, with the eclipse, and especially now with Mercury retrograde in Taurus, it's likely to hit us in the body. Taurus is an earth sign. Hit us in the body so we can feel where we're not, right? So, and I gotta tell you, I'm having my own version of this, right? I'm having some interesting things in my own body going on right now and trying to suss that out and figure out what I need to do. But I'm recognizing that part of what that is helping me do, even though I don't like the symptoms, right? I don't like, that I get worried about what's going on with my tummy, or what's going on in, these other parts of my body. But it does let me know, hey, if something's feeling off, right, where can I make an adjustment? And sometimes, especially with this energy, it is about relaxing. It is about calming down. Thank you, Karen. Karen is my partner here on these lives and pretty much all the things that I do with you here. And she's just letting you know that we have a Living Magic program here, and one of the classes is Living Astrology, and it's one of my favorite things to do. I get to teach it with Athena, and we also have Tarot Time where I answer questions each month. And we're not just a class, I would say we're a community, and as always invite you to join us if you're interested in more of this, right, in bigger doses. So, but I'll keep coming back here too, but we'd love to have you there. So anyway, so back to this Taurus thing and in the body, right? Where are you not operating in a way that's natural to you? Where is your own sort of peace meter out of whack or out of balance? And I know that for me, one of my strategies to kind of avoid feeling or avoid things that are uncomfortable is to kind of keep moving fast. So sometimes in order to actually know what's out of balance is to actually slow down and feel, right? And lots of us don't like to do it. Oh, it's not black, you guys, it's Moldavite. Can you see it? Okay, the light's probably not great in here. But it's a big chunk of Moldavite that I've had for a long time, and I put it on today because I was like, okay. And for any of you that know, I choose a different planet each year on my birthday to live that planet first and really like let it come alive in me. And so Uranus is the planet, that's the symbol here that I'm living. But I wore the Moldavite because being open, one to other intelligences is one thing that Moldavite can do. But also it kind of opens a doorway to really shifts and accelerates our consciousness. And it's interesting because Taurus is grounding, right? And Moldavite oftentimes is like, woo, shoot you right out. But there's something about the combination that felt good to me this morning. Yeah, I hear you guys. Those of you that, if it's you yourself experiencing physical pain or people in your life experiencing physical pain, that's difficult. Like it is. And I'm just, this Mercury retrograde, we're not about blaming astrology on things. It just reflects what's already happening. But I do just want to say that even in my own experience, like I was saying, that's not uncommon right now. So the more you can tune in and sort of feel what's actually going on, that will help you make changes that bring things into a little bit more balance for you. One of the questions that I am asking myself, and I'm kind of putting out there for all of you, is what are you holding on to that keeps you stuck, right? Because one of the shadow sides of Taurus is being so hunkered down and stuck. It wants to stay safe and secure. And so it's like it just kind of puts its head in the sand and it's like, nope, not gonna change, not gonna shift, because I know I'm surviving here, even if it is like difficult to survive. There's still a certain, a mindset that, I've done it so far, so I'm just gonna stay here. So, but there's something I think about this retrograde period that it's inviting us to look at. Is it really keeping you safe and secure, or is it now keeping you stuck? And I had a client last night, and we were talking a little bit about this idea of what at one point in our lives, and maybe for a long time, maybe in past lives as well, has kept us safe, right? Whether it's emotionally safe, mentally safe, spiritually safe, physically safe. And then we reach a point where all of a sudden it's no longer keeping us safe, right? But our mind has this story that it is. So it takes some courage to really look at where you can say, okay, my safety structure has now become my own prison, and now I'm stuck, right? So, and if you don't know, that's okay, right? I mean, for me, one thing you can just simply do is just say to yourself, say to your guides, whatever process you do around that, help me see what I'm holding on to that keeps me stuck. Just know that sometimes when we seriously ask that question, we do feel things, right? The body will show us, for example, right? If it's my tummy, if it's in this area, now there may be something I need to deal with physically, but in addition, right, that also may give me clues to where, what area, what chakra, right? What planets in me, where that blockage might be, or where that even stagnation might be. So yeah, collections and clutter. Oh my gosh, Sherry, me too. I think that's Sherry. Yeah. Oh, right now, I should say you should see our house. Not that it's like super crazy, but we've just outgrown it. And so it's funny, we're not ready to move yet, but just last weekend, I actually started boxing some stuff up. One, to kind of set the intention that we are ready to move somewhere else. So I kind of wanted to get the energy going, but also because I couldn't stand all my stuff. Right? And I have so many crystals and so many little knickknacks and so many little treasures, but it was like kind of taking over. And my colleague Jared and I were chatting yesterday here at Sage Goddess about Taurus really being about minimalistic, right? It's about having good quality, even luxury things, but not a lot of them. And so this is also something to be thinking about. Where do I have too much clutter? Where do I need to simplify? And also that clutter can be in our head. Sometimes we emotionally get all cluttered up, right? And Taurus is the invitation to simplify. Where do I need to step back, do less, you know what I mean? Take on less, make it less complicated. The polarity point sign to Taurus is Scorpio. And Scorpio is very much about going deep, right? Digging in. It's complicated and it's sometimes overwhelming. Yeah, quality over quantity. You got it. Yes. Okay. So, and looking at where I can sort of eliminate the overwhelm, the tension, and really get back down to know this is what matters. And then to really live in that space, right? Because Taurus, again, really looking at what do you value and are you secure in yourself? Because I gotta tell you, we talk about grounding and anchoring all the time, but the place that you do that grounding and anchoring is in yourself, right? That's your anchor point. It's not in your external stuff. And I'm not saying this to take away from, yes, we want a safe home, and yes, we want to feel grounded in certain relationships, and yes, we want certain safety in our jobs. I mean, when it comes down to it, that where we need that ultimate grounding and anchor is within ourselves. And when we are stable in that place, it's so much easier to kind of, wave around and move around and all the things as life is changing. Okay, so Heather, I see you, brand new, don't understand what all this means, but very drawn to it. Yeah, so, oh my gosh, when I first got turned on to astrology, I was so excited about it that I would actually start crying, just hearing people talk about it or listening to people's videos. It just really spoke to me. So I just think that, with astrology, it is in some ways like learning a whole new language. So you start really small. So for example, if all you did today was just learn a little bit about Taurus, that's awesome. You can spend a whole year just studying one sign, right? And, we have a lot of resources on our Sage Goddess website. We have an astrology page. There's a video on there for every sign. You can also, you're welcome to check out my website, which is just my name, Tara, T-A-R-A. My last name is AAL.com. I have a page for videos that are free. So, and then if you, again, wanted to join up with us here, Living Astrology, Living Magic, we have tons of resources. But yeah, it's like step by step. I have been practicing astrology now well over a decade, and I'm learning all the time. And I'm even discovering new things in my birth chart all the time. So if it calls to you, I always say, I don't think we choose astrology. I think astrology chooses us. And then it becomes a language. It's like it's a language of energy that we can use with ourselves and with everybody around us to help us understand what's going on, what it means, the bigger picture, how we're all interconnected. So it's been very beautiful for me in that way. I always say that I tend to be very subjective in nature, right? I really tend to take things very personally, and that's just kind of how I'm wired. And so when I first really started studying astrology, it was the first thing that helped me step back and be like, oh, wait a second, I think I know what's underneath the surface. I think I know why that person is seemingly being quote unquote mean to me. I think I can feel maybe where they're coming from. And so it really helped me be more objective and see life for what it is and for people for who they are instead of just my own little filter, which helps me be a better me. Yeah. Oh, shopping online, impulsive shopping. Now I have so much stuff. Yeah. So Yeah, it's interesting. Like Taurus is yes. So this idea about quality over quantity, but keep in mind that the shadow side of Taurus oftentimes is hoarding or over accumulating things because there is a safety in having enough or having more. My mom has a lot of Taurus in her chart, and she has got like boxes and boxes of cereal, like every type of food when it comes on sale. It doesn't even fit in the cupboards, right? But there's a sense of safety that brings to her, that she's going to have enough and also that she got a good deal. But when those things start to take over your space and you can't breathe or think or move, whether it's physically or mentally or emotionally, then it's time to really decide, what's worth it. And Chris is saying that finally got the Inner Sky book by Stephen Forrest. Yes, The Inner Sky by Stephen Forrest is a wonderful book. Stephen Forrest he's in his 70s now, and he is an amazing astrologer. He's also just a good human being. I've had the pleasure to meet him. And he does such a good job of explaining the archetypes and how to synthesize and weave them together. He's got, I can't tell you how many books he has. And some of my favorites, he has a book on each element. So he has a whole big book just on the water signs and the water planets and the water element. And then he has one just on the fire, one just on air, one just on earth, but lots of others as well that are fantastic. Yes, Sherry, I need to figure out when enough is enough. All good questions. So during this Mercury retrograde, don't push hard to get the answer. Be open to kind of rewiring, rethinking, reconnecting, and retuning in with what that is, And then those things I think will rise up a little bit more for you. Okay, before I pull a couple of cards, I want to share a Sabian symbol with you. So I know it's backwards. I'm not going to turn the camera around today because I realize that looks sort of crazy and we don't need any more wonky. But this book is by Dane Rudhyar. It's called An Astrological Mandala. And Sabian symbols, there's more than one book on Sabian symbols, by the way, but Sabian symbols, there was someone who kind of downloaded or channeled kind of a psychic vision for every degree of the zodiac. So, and a fun thing to do, we won't get into it too much here, but a fun thing if you want to do, you can look at your whole birth chart and look at the degree that all your planets are in, and you can look at this little symbol or image that goes with it. I love to do that because it gives me a different way of working with astrology. It's a little more visual and a little more intuitive. So here's the thing. It's facing correct. Well, sweet. That's good news. I'm the one who's backwards, but good. So what I want to read for you is the Sabian symbol for the exact degree that Mercury was in when it turned retrograde. That's going to give us a feel of the flavor of the whole retrograde period that's going to be from today, April 21st, until May 14th. So Mercury turned retrograde in Taurus, 15 degrees Taurus, 38 minutes. Which means we round up to 16 degrees. If this is technical, don't worry. Just, again, like I say, let it go. Just feel into this image. An old teacher fails to interest his pupils in traditional knowledge. An old teacher fails to interest his pupils in traditional knowledge. What I get from this is that we're at a point right now where the past isn't going to have the answers to everything going on right now. It doesn't mean we just ditch the past. We know that the past has we learn from the past, we work with the past, we literally stand on the shoulders of those who came before us. But what this says, and the keynote in this book says, the inadequacy of past knowledge in time of crisis, which means we need to re-engage and re-look at things and be willing to have new ideas, new information, new connections, new conversations, right? So part of this rewiring during Mercury retrograde is also how we are open to communicate with each other and what information we're actually willing to receive. Oh, Tamara, your birthday is this Sunday. Now you have to deal with Mercury. You're not going to deal with Mercury. Mercury is just here to help, right? It's all about the relationship you want to have with it. But yes, I will pull a card for you, Tamara. Let's do that right now. what is the best advice, or what is kind of the best thing that you can pay attention to right now with your birthday and during this Mercury retrograde? All right, here we go. Let's see what we got. Okay. Now, when I work with the tarot, I am always specifically working with the astrological correspondences with it, because that's so much my language. The card for you is the moon, right? The moon. And the moon, astrologically, is Pisces. Sometimes when I pull this card, it means that there's a period of time where you're not going to know yet, right? So the moon is about the depths of our emotional nature. It's our subconscious. It's all the mysterious things, right? Pisces is our connection with something greater, but it's mystery. It's imagination, the things that we can't explain with our rational mind. So sometimes with the moon card, you have to hang out for a little bit. Like there's not going to be like a big shiny package that says the answer is do this. No, it's you got to feel and kind of think about the moon in many cards. The image is actually of the ocean. So you imagine yourself being out in the ocean. And when you're out in the ocean, what's the best thing you can do, right? You learn to float. You learn to go with the flow, right? You don't fight against the current. So yeah. All right. Who else here? Who else would like a card? Michelle Snook. Sorry, I have to lean down because it's very small and my eyes are changing these days. Yes, all right, so let me pull for you. Let's pull for you. Oh, the Hierophant. This is the Taurus card. So that's very fitting. The Hierophant is about traditions and order and structure, but it's also about spiritual learning and teachings. And in particular, it is about those routines or habits or practices that we put in place that allow us to really connect with our spiritual sense of self. So it's linked oftentimes, with religion, because different religious things give us a physical way to experience that spiritual energy. So I think with the Hierophant, part of this one can just be being open to spiritual wisdom and learning and teaching, but also, are there routines or practices or ways that you can devote yourself? Ritual is a good word here that actually will connect you more with that. Yeah. Okay, who else? Lori Dwyer. Yes, I'm going to pull for you. Lori. Oh, don't be scared. People sometimes worry about this. Is the Ten of Swords. This card traditionally is where kind of, you're down on the ground. Traditionally, the swords are in your back. It's like an end point. But this is what I love about this energy. This energy is the sun in Gemini. What it means is that you've reached the end of a way of thinking, a way of looking at life, a way of making sense of things, an old story or an old way of communicating that is done, and you know it. So what I love about the 10 is it's almost about to turn into the ace, which is a new beginning. I like being aware of how something really doesn't work, so I can really just step out of it and move on. So this is being open to that awareness of, again, what way of thinking, what way of making sense of things, what story you tell yourself, could also be how you communicate, but something in that area is being illuminated for you so you can recognize that that cycle's over. Yeah. So if something feels difficult or feels like it's not working, that's actually good news. Take that as a sign. All right. Chris Clark. All right, let's go for you. And then I'll pull one for everybody. Chris Clark. Oh, the Emperor. This is the Aries card. This is about personal power. This is sitting strong in your power and having courage to set healthy boundaries. The Emperor, think about in a kingdom, right? The Emperor protects the kingdom, kind of sets the perimeter, or keeps everything safe, is a strong leader. And so the Emperor asks you, just like Aries does, to be strong in yourself, to know who you are, to put your weight down on yourself, right? See how he's like sitting on that throne right? There's a comfortability in sitting down, like really like my weight is down on myself, and then doing what you need to do to engage your personal power in ways that you create and protect your own kingdom, right? Quotes around kingdom, because that's your life. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to pull one for everyone. I'm sorry I can't do everyone. We could go on all day, but then I would miss meetings. I'll be back though. I'm committed to coming at least once a week, and I'll come more if there are more transits that are going on. And if you have like feedback for things you want to talk about in these, I can't catch all the comments here, but Karen's pretty good at it. So if you let her know, she always pings me afterwards, and then I kind of know what you want to learn about or hear about, and we can do it. All right, for everybody. The Knight of Swords. In this deck, the Knight is a king. So the king or Knight of Swords, astrologically, is Aquarius. But here's the thing about Knight of Swords. It is mastery of the mind and mastery of communication, master communicator, right? It is someone who has a level of maturity around how they use their mind, how they think, how they interact, how they exchange information. And knights or kings, because in this deck, the knight is a king, the king is always being of service to the kingdom. So this is about asking that we all move out in the ways that we can to share the information, the knowledge, the things that we have learned that help us see things from maybe a broader, a healthier, more open perspective, so that we can really help shift everyone's perspective a little bit. So, but I think at the core, it's asking us to be responsible for how we use our mind and how we communicate, right? This card is about making good decisions. So again, I know like Mercury retrograde isn't the best time to jump forward into new things or make new big decisions, but it is a good time to get clear with yourself on what you need to rework and relook at. And don't forget that Aquarius energy is objective. It has the ability to healthily detach and look at what's going on without being so personally involved, right? This isn't about, so Vanessa, you're a Scorpio and you feel fried and confused. Scorpio is a master of being, and again, this is not anything negative, because one of Scorpio's superpowers is the feeling and the emotional intensity and the depth, but sometimes that's too much. And this card is asking all of us to find a way to step up and out a little bit of our personal experience, right? And all the big feelings. I'm a Cancer, right? So I got all those moods going on too. To step out and to really grow up a little bit around how we let our mind, let me say this. Are you using your mind as a tool, or is it running you? Because our mind is meant to be, it's a learning tool for us to use. But if we're letting it kind of run the show, then there's going to be issues. So yes. All right. So on that note, you guys, I wish you a wonderful weekend. And until next time, let me know if you want to, reach out and let us know at Sage Goddess how Mercury retrograde is going for you, how this stuff lands. And certainly if you have insights, share it, because that helps all of us. Anyway, okay. Love you guys. See you soon. Bye.